Yeah, right. Hey, it's Mike. I want to put some lights on here. I don't think that it's gonna be that dark. I could put a green screen on. Maybe I'll do that for the other edit. Here we go. Let's see, it's a little bit better. I don't know if it's this particular PC or what. I'm facing the outside here. But anyway, there we go. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Mike Ratner, Dr. Mike. So I want to start a new podcast called Social Issues, socialissues.com. At the same time, I want to be able to consolidate some of my ideas on my social theories, which you can find at grandtourideas.com, grandtourideas.com. And the point of it all is like, well, we're all trying to make our way in life and have a better understanding so we can live the best life possible and to be able to basically be a contributing member of society and do what we in our heart think is best. So I'm going to talk about what's happening right now in 2024 with our election year in the U.S. And actually, it's this year. A lot of actual elections are happening around the world, and what we're seeing happen now. This is my point of view on this. There's the concern that as a society, we're losing sight of our democratic principles, and we want to vote for a strong man. And in Trump, we see a demagogue, which is somebody that people kind of worship because he was on TV. He's perceived as being a successful businessman. For some, he's rich. And I guess in the back of some people's minds, they believe he represents their interests and that maybe some of it will rub off and they can become rich and successful too, which though he is certainly not the person he espouses himself to be. If anyone's followed his history and look closely at how he's lived his life, you would, by measures, any social psychologist would tell you he has the markings of a sociopath. He's obviously a compulsive liar. And if you talk to his contractors, people who work with him, past employees, vendors who haven't been paid from his projects, and we're talking about around the world from investments to golf resorts, his gambling casinos collapses, his bankruptcies, his fake schools. You got to wonder, why isn't it people don't wake up to reality? But it's not just him. There's this inclination around the world for fascism has kind of come back in vogue. Now, to use the word fascism is controversial because we're not talking about classical fascism in the time of Mussolini and Hitler, in the going back to the 1920s and 30s. That was the prelude to World War II and the after effects from World War I and the Depression. But we do have the specter of going on where we do see these strongmen's, right-wing efforts, paramilitaries, and just people who got it so psychologically thwarted in their mind that their identities are sort of the basis to everything that they do. They believe in their race and their gender, and they're so stuck into having to wear a red cap, boots, carry a weapon, drive a truck, got your dog, I don't know, whatever it is that makes those characteristics, your beer. I'm like, oh my man, I play pool, I watch sports, because they've got to fit in. They want to feel like there's somebody, and it has to be a label. Now, I write about this aspect in cringefactors.com, CRING, cringefactors.com, because it's made up, right? The classification of class, race, your income, your nationality, how you perceive your gender to be, what you're told to act out, given your economic status or your ethnicity. It's cringe. Acting your age, whatever titles you're given for your profession. You're messed up, right? Trying to live to somebody else's agenda and standard. Well, instead of using the word fascism, I'm talking about dashism. Just replacing the D on the F in the word fascism, you have dashism. Because I'm questioning whether we really are at the F grade yet. If we totally failed, we're close, but we're not there yet, so I give it a D grade. And there's a distinction between dashism. So it's not just about Trump or the rioters at January 6th. It's about the liking of strongmen and totalitarianism and the failures of our democracy, where someone's taking advantage to manipulate media and systems to make you believe the liberals own the media, but yet you're hearing the conservative person talk on the media. So how's that work out? So however you view it, you can get the impression from the mainstream media that fascism is in return and it's in vogue and it's all around us. But as concerning as recent events have been, I'm questioning whether we're seeing something else. So we can look at far-right leaders and neo-nationalism that is growing. And we've seen it in Russia, Hungary, Poland, India, Turkey, right? Questions in the Philippines, and where we're going in the United States. So many people are dismayed between the choice of, two old politicians, re-election of Biden or re-election of Trump. And amazing that we don't have a third alternative or somebody that would be a better choice for either party. But depending on your perspective, you can see that cancel culture has become a dismal oxymoron. And we can see it that in our own views of things, we see threats to our civilization, whether you're coming from a right-wing perspective or the left, because things aren't to your liking to a certain way. And your attention gets co-opted supporting your beliefs that may not be serving the greater good, even though you think that they are. And that's the quality of Dascism, the degrade that leads to fascism. So whether you're protesting, something being said, or, you don't like what your athlete has said, a certain sports figure, or media celebrity or comedian, or you don't like certain books in the school or the library, certain topics like critical race theory, which you've never read or don't have any clue about, but you're against it because you've been told to. And you say you're not a racist, but you are. You got opinions about everything that support one particular vote category and a point of view that's been given to you. And you've even been taught how to respond when someone says, well, you're challenging me. So what about this? What about that? Wait a minute, you're not answering the question. What about that? What about that? Not answering the question. What about that? What about that? That's Dascism. It's a dementia that's being presented onto you, where you're taught how to think and to respond rather than thinking for yourself because you've been taught critical thinking, questioning things is not a good idea. Either you're part of the tribe and you go along with what we tell you to think or do, or you're kicked out. You're an outsider. You're a commie, right? You're anti-American, whatever. We can say that the threat to democracy is a worldwide phenomenon. It's happening, whether it's a Viktor Orban or the rise of France's National Front, led by Marie Le Pen, or Germany's Pegida and the AID and Austria's Freedom Party. It's unfortunate that a lot of people feel that they need to huddle, to be in a herd, right? And mass sheeple. We're all going to wear the red cap and dress this way and act a certain way. Because we feel that sense of belonging, not knowing that you're being led to slaughter. Oh, climate change denial. That doesn't exist. Oh, God. How far does it go? Before you're marching down the street, goose stepping, right? Carrying your weapons, taking over City Hall, shooting up a kindergarten, because you got that right. Right? Do we not question it? Well, the present things look like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of disdain and things are appearing fascist. Couldn't we question things that we could say there's another dimension that's a prelude that's coming forth? And this is where we are now. This is where we're in. That dimension is Dascism. But you have to be careful of the distractions because it's not just coming up with another name, because someone's going to say, well, what about Islamic fascism? That exists, which doesn't. Or Antifa, which doesn't exist. And then the boogeyman, which doesn't exist. It's the border. Well, that does exist, right? And what was done in the previous administration? But kids in cages, yeah, that was a solution. And what about the history, right? What was the prelude to those countries, whether, it was Central America or South America or the Middle East, what has been our footprint? Not just carbon footprint, but the legacy of bombs, invasions, takeovers, insurrections. So some of us just come home to roost. And sure, the manipulation of social media from outside interests, that's happening, right? And from private interests, special interests, there is an agenda. And whether or not it leads to fascism, we can say we are experiencing something right now. So I've chosen the word Dascism. Again, spell the word fascism, right? It's replace the F with a D. Dascism, Dascism. And it's rooted from the German word Dascism. The schism, if you go in your religious history, was a major historical event. Dascism simply means creating the divide, the divide. We are purposely being divided. And it becomes obvious when you become confronted with somebody who has a different opinion that's not well informed, but believes they know it all, because their leader has claimed to know it all. Everything from nuclear energy to how, the worlds work, right? It's a shame that people will follow idiots and believe they're smart because they do. That's incredible. And that's why I call it Dascism, because this is a new lens of deception. In order to break through, we need to have a new sense of perception to how we perceive information as it appears and it's given to us. And to know from a gut sense, right, intuitive sourcing, does it feel right when someone tells you something that they are just repeating? It's viral discommunication, like a disease, disassociation, D-I-S, and it's spreading. And it's affecting a mix in this Dascism where we can relate it on different levels. So my job in writing about it, and you can go to Dascism.com, is analyzing the current moment while making valuable distinctions about what Dascism is bringing forth and how it is distinctively different from old fascist politics. We are living in a new era. And while it's important to make these comparisons, there are such striking differences, just given the technology, AI, and just what's happening on your screen, to where, you are being programmed based on cookies and where, you go with your clicks and how your data is being used against you. So Dashism, the Great Divide, and how I'm defining it, is a few degrees short of fulfilling the absolute grip of right-wing authoritarianism and the impacts what fascism would bring. But this is a different time and a different era from classical fascism. And it doesn't deserve a new sort of intellectual analysis that describes really what is a serious, dire state of conditions and a perversive mindset that has been given to people like a dumb thinking cap, like a dunce cap, that people are wearing with red letters that says maggot on it. The invisible T is Trump, but maggot. Does it really make America great again? What the heck does that mean? They stole the quote from Reagan, but what is the reference to it? Could you ever ask them? I ask every time. I live in red cap country. And, because of my looks and consider people think me as one of them. And I question them. I just get them to think a little bit. I said, where's the position paper? What's going to change outside of the personality and the politics of extremism? It's like, oh, well, we got to do this and that. Why? Where's your healthcare plan? Where's your retirement? How is the deficit going to be paid off? What's the solution for the border? You're against what the current administration is doing or saying, even though you guys vote for people to represent you and you come together and you make decisions to create legislation where you can pass bills that would help solve or at least advance progress towards an issue. And then one person doesn't like it because it affects their reelection chances. And people are like, oh, no. That's exactly what's going on. And that's Dashism. I'm in fact describing institutional systems overthrow from the inside, where people think it's going to be better by bringing down systems that support a structure that allows us to get along in day-to-day life. Now, it's not to say that existing systems are stodgy. We have been institutionalized by them, and we're limited by tradition and just sort of the way it's always been done in the past. But functionalism is better than just plain uncontrolled anarchy, where if America, let's say, loses its status, number one, whether it's the dollar or the ability to support the military because our deficits, cause us to just shut down all public programs, our education system. And I've talked to people who believe that private schooling and just our tax money going to support, anybody, whether you're doing homeschooling or your corner church that wants to get funding for a program that they're doing, that's fine. Just close the public school system rather than looking at how we can innovate it. So it's a closing off of creativity and the dimension of exploring whose agenda it is that you're following. And some people call it libertarianism, like, oh, well, it's just a new idea and taking on things. And who's the front of that? It's the sad worship of billionaires and thinking that some of that success is going to rub off on you like dandruff. So we aren't at the F grade yet of fascism, but we certainly are at the D grade, and that's why I call it Dascism. It's shameful, and it's backwards. It's a subterfuge of our democracy, and it's a societal decline of democracy, and it's deception. And I hate that my friends, family, and we all know them, right? Wear the red cap, have been so tricked, so deluded into thinking something that's preposterous that they think it's in their best interest to go in that direction. But again, it's that herd mentality. We're all not going to think, but we all agree with each other because there's a machoism attached to it. My identity is attached. I can't be wrong. It couldn't be that this is the biggest scam ever being done to you. No, you couldn't be tricked like that. A demagogue, Dascism? What are you talking about, Mike? No, we're more American than ever. We don't need the Constitution anymore. We know better. You don't know better. I wish you did. I wish you would be dealing with reality. I wish you knew the facts and, read the 91 counts, just really actually got your facts straight rather than reading somebody else's blog or like, a real circle jerk. Somebody's saying it, you repeat it. Billy Bob said that, it must be true because I told him and he said it back to me. My God. You justify your argument with a constitutional amendment, but the whole paper, just keep that one amendment. We don't need the rest. You don't even realize you're only manipulated, how manipulated people are in the messaging. It's tactical mental mechanisms. And I hear it all the time because I have conversations. I try to keep it really even keel to get a true assessment of someone's thinking. But all I get is beliefs and opinions that they hear from Fox or extreme, truth, social. Oh my God. Is there not any fact checking going on in your head? Oh, I don't know. I read it. Someone said it. Billy Bob said it's true. Well, I got to believe Billy Bob. He's got a third grade education. He made it to the third grade. I guess it's more than you did. I'm sorry. I don't mean to put that down, but we got to talk about the comparisons to where information is coming from and the quality of that sourcing of that information and where people go to reference things, right? Breitbart, is that a good source of information? Maybe. I don't think so. But maybe some people do. They don't have a slant. Oh, well, all the media has a slant. Where do you get your information from? And is that information dehumanizing segments of the population that's fermenting anger and furthering a justification of repression? Hey, maybe you support mass imprisonment, social expulsion, and enhancing extreme discontent into hate, because hate can be a unifier to a certain degree, right? And that eventually will lead to mass extermination, if not global catastrophe. So as a book, I'm proposing that Dashism would explore and explain all these concepts, dismantling what Dashism is. So in this proposed book about Dashism, it wouldn't be focused just on Trump or dwell heavily on his presidency or just in general what is kind of sort of said about him, or the idiots that support him or repeat things that the election was stolen, or Antifa exists, or QAnon. I mean, it's all a part of it, right? And we can look at the growth of this type of thinking into where far-right extremism is going right now, and where it's culminating is what we can predict as far as a projection into the future. And we can look at its history going back to Andrew Jackson, in the United States. And we could talk about current writings and thinkings in different areas. There's a lot to consider here. And you can go to Dascism.com and get sort of a description of the ideology and the characteristics and the comparisons to fascism, and talk about why we have this desire to worship charismatic leaders. And of course, there has to be attractor factors, right? I mean, I consider Kennedy, he had a lot of charisma. He was a youthful president, he had a lot of great ideas. He presented himself really well, had a certain charm and look about him, you could say, for that era, compared to, an orange wig clown that's got everyone fooled, like the emperor that wears no clothes, but people want to believe something. Why? Something that's so obvious to some of us. It's sort of like that meme of the two colored dresses. Was it purple or silver? And people's eyes and perceptions could see things a certain way. So we have to understand that people are so tied into an ideology, which Dashism is, and how they perceive themselves to fit in supporting something that's actually against their own interest. And they're going to vote for that. Whether it's dismantling Social Security, or not having health care, right? Because they believe they're going to be represented by something that's going to serve their interest, but it serves their interest. But to get you to believe it, to vote for the superhero who's the CEO, right? The CEO are our modern princes, to go back to the Middle Ages, right? And you're a serf. But they got it so figured out in Dashism, the dementia of the mind, that you go in line to the slaughterhouse. Yay, waving that flag, holding that Bible, wearing that cap, thinking you're right, that you got it figured out. And you got no clue to what the politics really are. The bills that get passed, your rights being taken away, and your ability to be nothing more than a spectator to your own demise. This is what Dashism really is. And to be such a fool, right? It's like someone who got scammed, who's a victim, and still continues to give money to the crook to pay for his legal bills. Some people get all angry, and then you get threatened, you're going to get name called on the internet, you're going to get whatever, You can't even catch your own reactions. That's part of the programming of Dashism. It's a dementia. It's an existence in another formatted reality. And in that dimension, polarization is happening. People are just going to a particular corner. They're not able to understand what the information delage. All they can just go to the next screen, the next post, right? Not knowing that was presented to them, right? They're just seeing what confirms their biases, right? The fake news, the disinformation, just confirming what they want to believe, which is a lie. This is Dashism. It's evilly ingenious, evil genius, right? And the politicians, and the special interests that support this, that lie, that continue to support this grand narrative, the big lie. I don't know what to say. Was it the fault of our education system that you didn't know better? Or the fact that we have not evolved consciously enough to get people out of the distraction about genderism, all the cringe factors, right? whether women should have a right to their own body, or you believe some weird made up Christian analogy that's not even in the Bible about something or another. Sheeple that follow something that's just made up, completely made up, but they make it into something that positions me against you because you, being the red cap wearer, are the threat to democracy. You can't even get your facts straight. But it goes against your identity. So anything that would argue against, you know, keeping you within your corner of class, how you identify as race, I don't care who you are, that this is such a big identity given to you that you make it your own and now you have to defend it. And you think you're part of that privileged sector that you're not. But they got you defending them. That's incredible. That's the ingeniousness of Dascism that keeps you locked in your income, that you have no retirement, no investments that are going to support you, but you think you do, or you might, right? Nationalism rather than having a global outlook that we're all one world. And we ought to think about having a desirable, sustainable future, how we can unite and get together on the commonalities that make us together, right, that bring us together so we can support and honor each other's differences of opinions perhaps, but not to believe BS. The culture industry, the media, the collective narcissism given to the societal behavior, the dominance orientation, it's all there in the Dascism study, the rhetoric. It's social psychology on a different level because it's encompassing politics and just sort of propaganda, sort of really a mental mindset that's sort of been able to be manipulated that they couldn't quite do as powerfully in the past. That makes a distinction of Dascism versus fascism. But if and when it gets there to fascism, oh my God, it'll be like nothing we've ever saw before. Let's hope it doesn't go that way. But we are close enough to it. Check out Dascism.com. You'll go through different chapters, historical backgrounds of this to right-wing authoritism, populism that I trace back to the mid-'60s, the Christian cult agenda, right? And, this whole idea of, America and is a special country and how it needs to be a Christian country and, my beliefs over yours, uber alles, and the effect of conspiracy theories and what you've been taught to believe, fake news and all that, everything from QAnon, it's all there. And how the government is responding and how things have already happened and changes in our system or people are afraid to speak out. If that's a country we really, really want. So we look at Dascism as an ideology and the non-ideological, illogical aspects of it, and how the methods of persuasion. We'll talk to sociologists and political scientists who have noted the recent trends and emotional themes that take place in national pride, speeches that look at you of having some sort of bravado, to think that you get the picture of where things ought to be and make you feel good about it, even though it's an illusion. I talk about an illusion. It's a painted portrait in your perspective that's placed into your mind. It doesn't exist anywhere. It can't even come into existence, but you believe it. And then you act on those beliefs against your own best self-interest and that of your children's. You think you're doing something, but you see that there is no true passage of any bills because there's no legislation. Trump has said for years, even while he was president, he's going to write up healthcare policy. Where is it? He said he's going to finally review his taxes. He's promised that for years. Where is it? Are you still being scrutinized, analyzed? No. What does it take to kind of wake up? Oh my God. To recognize someone has been a fool, who lives in illusion, right? Right? He's counting sheep on a hill and imagining that there's another world better, that you're going to make it better, and you're going to destroy what you got currently in hopes by giving you all you got, your votes, your money, right, your beliefs to something outside of yourself that's eluding. Give your power away thinking that you're going to be best represented, that's a fool, right? And the talent of the scam artist is the hallmark of Dascism, that the ability to do that. Lincoln said you can't, you can fool some of the people all the time, you can't fool all the people all the time, but that segment, that base, I'm talking about base, right? Base. Their identity is so tight and they have no meaning other than this collective mindset. Has to be right. He's our leader. He's the second coming. Right? In Trump we trust. It's a hallmark of Dascism, although it isn't quite that because it still exists without him, but he's the hallmark. He's representative of it. The progenitor. Just people go along with it. Got someone to follow, right? I'm a believer. I don't follow anybody. But yet you got these loyal followers and the expertise to know how to exploit a crowd. That's a phenomenon that Emil Durkheim called collective effervescence. Collective effervescence, when you put in your little tablet, to ease stomach upset, and you watch the bubbles come up. It's a state of emotional excitation that's felt by those who join with others, and they become sort of like this tribe, And in a way, the way they act, they affirm their unity, and united they are as they enter the slaughterhouse. And yet they feel like there's somebody. And in that way, because there's somebody to wear the red cap, they're deserving of respect. And there's a certain sense of security in that identity. It's amazing. So I'll write about what I call absolute framings and what I call Koch's threat narratives that underlie if you were to leave the tribe, and how you would threaten somebody else if they were to leave, or how you have to belong and fit in because it's your identity. And ID is simply internal dialogue. ID. What does it stand for? Internal dialogue. It's what you say to yourself about yourself, what you perceive other people to believe or say about you, so you can fit in. I feel like you're somebody. Cringefactors.com, Dascism.com. We'll study all this and put this together. And I hope you're not insulted by it in case you're a red cap or you're getting all like this. You got to watch your reactions because it's something you got to catch yourself if you're going to wake up from internal dialogue. It's your idea is simply what you're saying to yourself about yourself. And Dascism is to delude you, right? It's to put you in a form of dementia to where really, to be other than your true natural self. But you think you have to be something else in order to fit in and to be accepted. One day, I hope that you'll wake up, my red cap friends, because I believe that you, in your heart, have the best interest for the country. You want to believe that we could become united and do good. But you can't follow a divider, someone who, if you just really listen to the speeches, you just see like, my God, the guy is suffering from dementia. He's a sociopath. But you got to really listen. And you got to step back from it. Not just be someone in the audience who's literally being hypnotized, but watch, observe, study. Be the observer that's being observed. Be the observer that's being observed. And Dascism will be revealed onto you, what's being done to you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community, our society. And you'll wake up from it. And it might be alone, like waking up in the Matrix and going, oh my God, what is it you are so plugged into? You got kids, right? They're on, where's my phone, right? Constantly hours and hours and hours. We're being programmed. Whether it's the music or the style, the dress, whatever information's given to you, what's the purpose and the intention? And most people are just cattle. They're just repeating what they've been told. They never thought about it, really. That might make sense to them on some really third grade level because it's selfish, self-interest. But it's all BS what they're being told. Democrats being demons, that someone's going to take away your guns. I've never seen any legislation like that, but you're made to believe it. Every time something happens and they're shooting, there's a line at the gun store. Programming, right? Look what happened to the NRA leadership. Look into the pedophile priests that you go give money to and your time every Sunday. Not to say that yours is, but there's a lot of perverts. And it's something that you perpetuate by continuing these beliefs and passing them on like a viral communication disease. And I know what I say threatens a lot of people, and they feel like, oh, they want to threaten violence back because they can't hear the truth. And they'll silence you. They just can't accept that they've been misled, right? Scammed. Psychology and propaganda, they're related, right? Because if you know how to manipulate people, you can become a master at something that's really evil. We've all been in situations probably where we've taken advantage of another person we knew or scammed them or lied to them and deception, and then you were found out. Some of us learned our lessons and changed. Maybe there's still dimensions of discovery, right? In personal growth and being able to sort of take our lessons, our life lessons, and expand upon them. But some of us are really stuck, and it's unfortunate that we will live and die in fear in something that they believe to be out there that was totally made up. They never had any proof of it. Nothing that confirmed, other than their biases maybe, but they justify somehow perpetuating the lie. That's Dascism. And they'll continue dehumanizing their targets, going to erode our democratic norms. And you're going to help these evil people consolidate power by lying to you and knowing they can get away with it, inflaming resentments, and eventually the base will divide themselves and they will eat themselves, literally. How long before there's a gunfight at one rally or whatever, somebody says something and, there's that herd mentality, moo, moo, nah, nah. But for how much longer before someone goes, wait a minute, right? Don't look up. Wow. You probably know it already. It's just dealing with it. And what's going to happen when there's going to be a cathartic release of all that pent-up mob energy? Are we going to have salvation? Will the promised land be delivered to us? Will the policy making benefit us or just a few? Are we together? Do we have any type of sort of plan to sort of come together through communityconversations.com? Like, talk about social issues with your neighbors, get to know one another, just talk. And maybe those talking points are from Fox at first. They just get repeated. At some point, someone goes, and I've seen this happen because I've been leading a number of conversations, not ever trying to make anybody wrong. Even like right now, I'm sort of talking about Dascism because it's such a threat. But you get a sense in the community conversations that community comes together. People want to feel like there's a sense of connection among us, right? I value connection, And in the community conversation, sometimes you can have a loving conversation, lovingconversations.com, communityconversations.com. A couple of my projects, I'm studying conversations. In the larger context, the backdrop is this Dascism. But when you bring community together and you have a conversation, sometimes people think a little bit about what they've been told. They've repeated over and over to other people. And then they kind of go, oh my gosh. They awaken. It's not that they admit that they're wrong. Sometimes they do. And they go, oh my God, what have I been thinking? What have I been doing? How have I been living? And you become aware of what I call your TWA. TWA, the flight you take every day. It's your thoughts, words, and actions. It's a reflection of how you are present to people. To become aware is to know what you're thinking, the quality of the words that you're using, that you're passing along, whether you're saying it to yourself or you're repeating it to somebody else. It's like, why? TWA, thoughts, words, and the way you're acting. What are you actualizing? How are you presenting yourself being present? And you begin to stop being the robot, always trying to have to show up a certain way, to be liked a certain way, to be seen a certain way. We all want respect and to be appreciated and to be liked. but we don't act artificially in a pretense in order to receive that pat on the back, or the acclaim that we seek, or the like on Facebook. You begin to wake up. That's what I call ultra being. Again, you can get the ideas of my philosophy in the big scope at grandtourideas.com, grandtourideas.com. In this particular project, understanding the politics of the current time, we are not at fascism yet, thank God, but we are in a world of dementia called Dascism. That's my take on it. Dascism.com. Place the F with D. All right, I got to go pick up my kids from school. Thank you for participating in today's talk. It was a live stream. It's just something I needed to sort of get out and say thank you so much for participating, and we'll catch you another time. I'm MikeRatner.com.